Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland manga review. This one's going to be for chapter 143, which is called Obliteration. So we move completely away from the flashback. It looks like that was just a two-parter there of The Promise 1,000 years ago. And we're moving away from that, which I'm perfectly fine with. I think there's probably little bits and pieces more that I'd like to know at some point, but they told the important bit that they needed to. So, our opening page here is actually, back with Emma and the One. We basically get a bit of a recap page of exactly what's going on with the Promise, and it's just what Emma asked for. All of the cattle children to be sent back to the human world, and then close off being able to switch between the worlds. Obviously, they've set up the idea that you can't break a previous promise made with the One, so she can't wish for the world to be made like whole again. It is stuck as being half demon, half human because of the previous promise, and the One agrees to this. He says he will grant her wish, and the reward I want is... And the only real addition that we get to that in this chapter is just him saying the word "your" and he's cut off. We don't get to hear the details of what is said to her, but we see her reaction. It goes from being shocked to sort of being a little bit horrified. There's a silence then in the air between the two of them as she considers this. And then all we get is this interesting panel. We don't see the faces, the head is kind of cut off at the top of the One or Emma, and she just says, "Oh." And it's interesting because I think everyone expected it would be like, "I want to like eat Ray or Norman or you," or something like that. Something more on the brutal side of things, showing his sort of demon side. But it seems like he's maybe surprised her a little bit with what he has asked for. And it's not as simple as just like, oh, I can sacrifice myself and get what I need for everyone else, or something like that. So what is it to prompt a reaction that's kind of like shocked? Oh, that's what it is. Now if it is, I suppose maybe the acceptance of like, oh, it is her having to sacrifice herself, and just she'd hoped it maybe wasn't that, but is willing to go ahead with it. It's interesting. But I ultimately feel they probably are going to go down the direction of Emma can't actually agree to whatever condition he's asked for here. I think they've set up the idea of never refuse the One his reward because we are going to see the results when you refuse the reward. It seems too obvious that is that sort of clear cut. They've presented something, they've said something about it. There's no way they're just gonna like have everyone agree to that every single time. So I think ultimately we'll see Emma go against that and see what the results of it actually are. And if it's just rumors about what happens, or if there's some kind of trick to the whole thing. That's sort of what I'm thinking is kind of going on here, is that there is going to be some solution where you can get what you want without having to make this terrible kind of bargain with the devil, basically. But that's all we get on the Emma side of things for now. They're really teasing what exactly the reward he's asked for is, and this was just, a page or two of, getting to that point. The whole rest of the chapter is back with the Dawn, Gilda, Aishi, and Hayato side of things. Plus, we also know that kind of shadowing them the entire way is Jin leading a group of basically atoms or lambda kind of kids with the special abilities. And the setup is like, is Hayato a little bit more sympathetic towards Dawn and Gilda, or is he completely on Norman's side of things? And that's sort of what we get in this chapter. This is where we find out, like, we know Dawn and Gilda are on the trail of Sonju and Mujika. They haven't told everyone just yet. They set up the idea that they haven't told Hayato about Aishi and her past, and the fact that she can actually understand and speak the human language. Because, of course, Norman's people are her bitterest enemies, because they killed her father. She was happy with the life she had, being raised by that demon, and they came in there and took it away from her because they just thought that that was a bad situation. And so Aishi is kind of staying undercover in the way that you would expect, and eventually they find tracks. They have to reveal to Hayato that it is the correct tracks. So they reveal, officially to everyone that this is the case, and now this is when it's sort of revealed. The plan springs into action. The second this is revealed, we see this interesting shot of Hayato standing behind Don and Gilda, who are looking at the tracks, and he gets super serious all of a sudden. We've never seen Hayato like this, because he's always been so sort of fun-loving and goofy with the kind of constant apologies and like smiles. But here he is with this kind of, you know, dead-eye look on his face that he is, whatever he's about to activate, death is coming, basically. So he says in the next panel, we found the cursed blood girl, we found her boss, and we get a flashback to, I suppose, the orders that he was given in terms of what's happening on this expedition. So Vincent gives him this kind of activator thing, this kind of button to press if they've come across the trails of Sonju and Mujika, that will alert Jin and his crew to the fact of like where they are, and that's when they'll come in and do the attacking. So that's the basic plan. They'll surround the enemy, and that will be how they take out Sonju and Mujika. The power of Lambda will end the cursed blood forever. The boss's plan doesn't have the slightest flaw. And Hayato does say, it'll be alright, you won't be harmed, Don Gilda, not Aishi and her dogs either. And he does say, please forgive me, my friends, for tricking you like this, but this is all for the sake of the cattle children. It's all to build a future for all of us. And he says, these orders come straight from the boss, the cursed blood girl must be killed. So that confirms it to us. Norman had kind of lied in all of this, saying that, you know, they just find Sonju and Mujika, but he actually has sent out orders to kill them. So we sort of knew that because he had sent the army with him, but this is 100% confirmation that this is coming from Norman. He is scheming behind everyone's back, not being truthful, but that's the situation. And it shows that Hayato is placing his loyalty to Norman above his sort of new friendship with the Gracefield House kind of characters. This is when we cut to actually seeing Mujika and Sonju. We just see that they're taking a rest. They happen to come across the tracks on the other side of things, and this is when we get the reunion, the big reunion we've sort of been waiting for since they've been brought back up. The idea of Don and Gilda meeting Sonju and Mujika. And it's a really nice reunion. Gilda hugs Mujika. Don gets in on it as well. They both say that they've missed each other. And she notes how big they've become as well, which is a nice little thing on her part of like, she has stayed somewhat the same, but them as humans have obviously grown in the kind of year and a bit to 2 years since they last saw each other. Immediately upon seeing them, this is when Hayato clicks the activator thing, so he gets Jin in on the action. Aishi notices this and calls out in the demon language to alert Sonju and Mujika about what's happening. But as they sort of turn around, it's revealed they are surrounded. You know, you have your Adam-like characters up in the tree. Jin is also kind of leading them up in the tree. He also apologizes and says, you know, forgive us, Don and Gilda, but we must finish the cursed blood. And then very interesting end to the chapter. We cut to the next panel, full page image here. Sonju just goes from being in the middle on the ground, surrounded by everyone, to being behind Jin. Jin doesn't notice him move at all. That's how quick it is. And he turns around to see Sonju just staring at him. And what he says is, who's going to finish who, with the shocked expression from everyone of just how quick and powerful Sonju is. Sonju has a huge grin on his face. Now, the big thing with this is that one of the more interesting aspects of Sonju that we learned about right at the end as everyone left was that he revealed that he wants to get back to the ways of old where demons could hunt humans. Maybe not in the exact same sporting way as Luvis wanted, but he wants it to be more of a sort of, you know, even challenge. He doesn't like the idea of trying to do that now with the position that most of the cattle children and humans on this side of the world are in. So he wants to sort of end the farms and stuff like that so it can go back to being more of the ways of old, more of the ways of the battle that was going on, both sides sort of being able to hunt each other. So there's definitely a sense of he is going to enjoy doing what he's doing here, because as much as they are cattle children, they are opposing him, fighting him, trying to kill him. So it is the, you want to hunt me, I'm going to hunt you back. I think he probably will see this as a way to, you know, test his abilities here. And yeah, that's the tagline here. It's Sonju versus Lambda, their stratagem goes wrong. So I get the impression he is meant to be borderline Luvis in his prime level. Like, he's... I think what they've done here is kind of get across the idea that he is theoretically like the fastest demon character that we've ever seen, with how he was able to move like that. And he is going to be that same level of challenge of, look how much it took to finish off Luvis, and that was with the idea that he was sort of past his prime and there were weaknesses to exploit. I don't think the same could be said for Sonju, especially when he's kind of in a better situation, because I think the idea is that he has Mujika's blood as well, so he doesn't have to eat humans. He just maintains that base level of intelligence the entire time, so there's no sense of like ups and downs with him. So he is like top level basically. Now the big question is going to be, is it going to be a bloodbath next time out? Is Jin going to get killed? Are some of the other Lambda kids going to get killed in all of this? And what? Also, the focus on Sonju here has sort of distracted us from the fact that Mujika is right there. She is the important one to protect. It is, I suppose, actually both of their blood, because they did say that it's not just Mujika, of like, anyone who Mujika gives her blood to, they can then give their blood to also get the same effect. So, you know, I suppose ultimately they're both as important as each other, but Mujika is even more important because she was like the originator. No one gave her the blood to be like this. It is just her blood. She this ability to not have to eat humans to maintain intelligence, the cure to that comes from her at a default. So her origin story is kind of like the important thing here, and it's interesting that she's sort of in the background in all of this. Like, she's there, she's important, but Sonju has stepped into the forefront here. So what exactly is going to happen? Because there's other sides of the story at play here as well. Like, we have Ray has just been obviously transported back to the Norman's kind of facility. So he's nearby-ish, so he could arrive at some point if this battle goes on for a long time. The Emma and the One side of things, you know, we're pretty much just waiting for like a couple of words. What is the solution to that, and how many chapters does it take to get a proper answer or agreement on the promise or not? And then depending on what happens, does it affect what's going on elsewhere? We still have to cut to like what's going on with Norman and the attack on the Tefari, with the warring factions coming together of like the king or queen's army facing the, you know, the banished tribe of demons and stuff like that. Like, there's tons going on right now, and we're not tackling every side of the story at once. So yeah, they're my thoughts on the chapter. Another excellent chapter of The Promised Neverland. But in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. But that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.